Someone tell me what your lymph system does.
It fights infection.
Sucks up leaky blood.
All right, we have two answers. One is it's an immune function. Immunity. So when I was a lad, lymphatic was considered part of the immune system. You could lump them together because it had an immune job. There's another job. No, I'm going to say no. I know what you're thinking, but that would not be the word I'd use.
Filtering the blood, or is that immunity?
All right, we're going to drain and filter fluid. So, some people will put this as its own system because it's just a drainage system. Some will combine it with immunity, and some will actually combine it with the circulatory system because fluids are in the circulatory system. I don't care where you put it. I learned it as a separate thing. That's me. So what we're going to do is figure out what fluid we're draining. What fluid are you draining in the lymphatic system?
Lymph.
Lymph, yeah! Okay, now the word of the week. What the heck is lymph? It's fluid. I got that. Ooh! All right, let me hit you with a word here. It's extracellular fluid. Okay, Biology 112 scholars, what does extracellular mean?
Outside the cell.
Outside the cell. This is fluid that's outside the cell, not cytoplasm. That's inside. So let's list some extracellular fluids. One of them is plasma. Plasma is outside the cells. It's in a vessel, right? So plasma is one of the fluids that we could drain. Give me another one.
Saliva.
Yeah, that's extracellular, but not in this country. You can't drain it again. Let me get you another one here. True, but you actually don't drain that one. How about interstitial fluid? Does anyone know where interstitial fluid is? Between the cells. We call this tissue fluid. So fluid that's in my bloodstream or fluid that's around my cells, my tissues, we can call extracellular fluid. And then magically, we call it lymph. So I'm going to show you a picture and some animations of this concept. Okay, so the biggest problem is it's the same fluid. They give it different names just to bother you. Right? Let me show you this picture here. There's a little flow chart showing some lymph system. So if you look down here, what's that red and blue stuff? Blood, right? And what's inside blood as fluid is plasma. So that's an extracellular fluid. Some of it's going to leak out into your tissues. So it's going to be interstitial fluid or tissue fluid. The minute I start draining it, it now is called lymph. So this is the big hang-up a lot of people have. It's the same fluid, just giving a different name depending on where it is. Right? So this is a silly analogy, but it works. When you turn on your shower, that's fresh water. The minute it hits the drain, what do you call it? Sewage, right? Just because it's in a different spot, you give it a new name. So the same thing with your fluids. If it's in my blood, it's plasma. If it's around my cells, it's tissue. The minute I drain it, we call it lymph. We're just giving it a new name because it has a new direction. It's going somewhere else. So we're going to drain our fluids. Where are we going to drain them to? Where would you go if you were some extra fluid? Let's find out. We're going to go in these capillaries. Zoop. 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 Wah! Where am I going?
Your heart.
To my heart, to my venous system, to my circulatory system. Why? Why would I go to my circulatory system with all this extra fluid?
Because then it can go to your kidneys and...
What's that big thing in Portland to be green? You recycle and reuse and all that, right? Okay, so where's my fluid coming from? It's coming out of my blood. So where should I put it to reduce, reuse, recycle? I'm going to put it right back in the blood again. So I'm going to drain it from where I'm leaking the fluid out, put it right back where the fluid came from. So I'm going to drain it back to where it came from, right there. So then what are these things? What's a lymph node then?
Cleansing station.
Yeah, so why would I need to filter my lymph? Let's write that down. So lymph nodes are where you filter. So we got to figure out why. So the filters are called nodes. Why would I want to filter this fluid? Might have waste in it, or worse. What else might be in it? What is it?
Old cells?
Old cells? That's not so bad. There's something that's really bad. Pathogens, yes. We're going to filter, we're going to remove pathogens. Someone tell me what pathogens are in English.
Harmful organisms or
Yep.
things.
Or germs, or bad things, or bugs, or whatever word you want to throw at your kids, right? Some kind of disease. So why would I want to remove diseases from the drain line?
You don't want to get it in back in your heart.
Why not?
So it'll go everywhere?
Bingo. So if you think about the concept here, if you were a germ and you ended up here, where's the next place you're going to be? Everywhere, because your heart's going to pump you everywhere. What do we call it in the hospital when people have germs everywhere in their bloodstream?
Systemic.
Sepsis. And what happens when you have sepsis? You die, right? Because the germs are now everywhere in your body. So there's no way I want to get something that's in my drain line back to my heart, because I just killed you. So I'm going to filter this fluid as it's draining back to my heart at the nodes. So I have to clean it before it gets back. Does that make sense? That's what and supposedly the sewage treatment plant is doing that to your sewer. It's cleaning the waste before it dumps it in the Willamette so you can drink it. That's the logic of this system. Right? So I'm going to show you a lymph node, which is one of these filter devices. Let's figure out what's going on. At the top, afferent. What does that mean, afferent?
Coming in.
Coming in, so the fluid's coming in. And then here's efferent going out. What do you think is inside that lymph node?
Filters.
Yes! What thing you learned about 4 weeks ago could clean or filter things? There were 5 of them in lab you memorized in order. Never let monkeys eat bananas was white blood cells.
That was last week.
Yes. So white blood cells are what are in there. Name one of the white blood cells for me.
Neutrophils.
Neutrophils, there's another one.
Basophils.
Say it again, somebody said lymphocyte. Can you guess where we find lymphocytes? That's the logic of that name, is it's going to be a cell in the lymph, and white blood cells destroy germs, right? So as I'm filtering this fluid, I'm going to start killing off the bad stuff in my nodes before it gets to me, my heart. Make sense? Let's watch an animation of this protocol. Right? I'm sure you're all excited to see. Let's do this one.
The lymphatic system consists of a network of vessels and tissues that contain and transport lymph. Lymph forms from interstitial fluid in lymphatic capillaries and flows through lymph vessels and nodes, eventually returning to the blood vessels. It works closely with the circulatory system and is structured similarly, with its own capillaries and vessels. The lymphatic system has 3 primary functions: draining excess interstitial fluid from tissue and blood, transporting dietary lipids, and promoting disease resistance.
Okay, in 233, we'll do that second one. So that's why we're not talking about today. Right? So we're going to ignore, just wave your hand at it, ignore it for this term. But next term, we'll talk about that, the meaning of that. So we're going to do the drainage thing tonight. Then next week, we'll focus more on the disease part of it. But you're going to do all that. You're going to drain fluid, clean the fluid, remove the germs from it. That's the goal of this lymphatic system. That's why people put it as an immune job and a circulatory job and a unique job, depending on what you learn. All right, click here.
Due to pressure differences between blood vessels and interstitial space, significant amounts of fluid and solutes filter out of the blood and are not reabsorbed. Each day, about 20 liters of fluid and solutes are filtered out of capillaries at the arterial end. About 17 liters are returned back to the bloodstream at the venous end.
And no, I don't care.
The remaining 3 liters of fluid and solutes drain from blood and tissues into lymphatic vessels.
So the concept is you're going to get fluid building up around your cells over the course of the day. So you got to do something with it. So you're going to drain it back, so that 3 liters goes back into the blood, so you're back to 20. Make sense? That's the logic here.
The lymphatic system also absorbs
skip that one,
lipids
right.
and lipid-soluble macrophage cells found in the lymph nodes and spleen phagocytize invading cells. B lymphocyte cells in lymph nodes and the spleen produce antibodies that mark and destroy foreign antigens in cells.
It's the disease part of it. Makes sense? So now we got to figure out how the lymph is formed and
The
moved.
unique structure of lymphatic capillaries allows fluid inflow from interstitial space, but not outflow. Overlapping endothelial cells make up the wall of the lymphatic capillary. Anchoring filaments hold the cells in place. Drainage occurs as pressure in the interstitial fluid increases, causing swelling. The anchored filaments pull the endothelial cells slightly apart, allowing more fluid to flow into the lymphatic capillary. When pressure is greater inside the lymphatic capillary, drainage stops, and the endothelial cells overlap tightly to prevent lymph outflow.
If you think about it, that's happening just by a difference in pressure. You don't have to do anything to have the fluid go the correct way. It's a difference of more to less. Right? That's kind of cool. But you still got to get it to move through your body, not just into the capillaries. So now we're going to figure out how we get it to actually move from
The
my body
lymphatic
parts.
system returns drained lymph to the bloodstream through lymphatic ducts. The right lymphatic duct drains the upper right side of the body. The thoracic duct drains the rest of the body.
And no one knows why, right? So if you're wondering, why is that? I didn't build it. No one knows why there's this odd system where they're not the same. It just is, right?
The ducts bring drained fluid to the right and left subclavian veins.
You're just right about here. Right below your clavicle, right about there. Click on the subclavians.
Skeletal muscle and respiratory pumping promotes the flow of lymph toward the thoracic and right lymphatic ducts. The same processes return venous blood to the heart.
Okay, let's review. Why do your veins need you to move for them to work well?
Low pressure.
They have low pressure, and therefore gravity would pull the fluid away. Same thing here. There's no pressure in your lymph system. There's nothing pumping the fluid. You're draining it like a ditch along the road. Therefore, you're going to use the same mechanisms as you would in a vein because there's nothing pumping the fluid. So everything you learn with veins counts for lymph. You have valves, you have pumping, the whole thing is one more time. All right? So let's click the leg and watch.
Valves in the lumen of lymphatic vessels and veins keep flow proceeding in one direction. The pumping moves fluid in 3 steps. 1. At rest, both valves are open and fluid flows toward the heart. 2. Muscle contraction compresses the vessel, pushing fluid through the open proximal valve. The distal valve is closed, preventing backflow. 3. As the muscle relaxes, the proximal valve closes and the distal valve opens, resuming flow. This process essentially milks the fluid from the vessel, transporting it toward the heart.
So milking a cow or milking a vein, right? You just keep shoving it up there. Click on the vessel.
The respiratory pump also promotes lymph flow with alternate compression and decompression. Valves again prevent fluid backflow. Before inhalation, fluid fills the thoracic and abdominal vessels. Inhalation expands the thoracic cavity, forcing the diaphragm down and compressing abdominal vessels. Fluid is pushed toward the heart. The diaphragm returns upward during exhalation, decompressing abdominal vessels. Alternate compressions and decompressions move the fluid into the thoracic vessels or ducts.
So again, we're just trying to move this fluid by squeezing your limbs to get back to the blood vessels. That way you can use it again. So you're draining fluid. Right? Now we're going to focus on the immune part for a minute. So let me go back to actually, hold on. Let's watch this guy.
The lymphatic lymphatic system
Yeah.
has
Give me a second for this guy, right?
its network of vessels,
I heard
valves,
you do this.
ducts, nodes, and organs, helps balance the body's fluid by draining excess fluid, known as lymph, from the body's tissue and returning it to the blood after filtering it. Some types of blood cells are also made in the lymph nodes. The lymphatic system also plays an important role in the body's immune system. Infection, even a trivial infection, is the most common cause of swollen lymph nodes. Let's look at a cut section of a lymph node to see what happens. Afferent means towards. Afferent lymph vessels bring unfiltered fluids from the body into the lymph node where they are filtered. Efferent vessels, meaning away from, carry the clean fluid away and back to the bloodstream, where it helps form plasma. When the body is invaded by foreign organisms, the swelling, sometimes felt in the neck, armpits, groin, or tonsils, comes from the microorganisms trapped inside the lymph nodes. Eventually, these organisms are destroyed and eliminated by cells that line the node walls. Then the swelling and pain subside.
It's a little odd. So we're going to do a little activity that's not in your pack. It's a new one I'm trying. So you get to be guinea pigs on that statement. So